Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I'm going to do another Taphome video, and this time I'm going to look at the access control functionality of Taphome. And I think this is probably going to be the last video in this whole Taphome series, or at least the last video in for a while, because access control was the last thing that I wanted to look at this. So in previous installments we have looked at how, the whole Taphome environment or the ecosystem looks like. So we looked at the core modules that you can see just up here, and then how to handle basic inputs and outputs, and how to set up lights and shutters and those sorts of things, how to integrate external sensors like Modbus or external devices. We also looked at temperature controls, thermostats, and let's say circulation pumps and valves. We also looked into some integration with Node-RED, getting data off Taphome and doing some external reporting or dashboard, and now we have access control. So in this video I'm going to go through how you can integrate in, in my case it's it's a cheap Chinese RFID reader. I quite like this model. I use it in my home automation that is based on, this reader with an ESP8266 and some Node-RED flow. And I made a couple of videos on this whole setup, which is working absolutely fine in my, in my home for, I think, probably more than a year now. So I bought exactly the same model, and additionally I had to purchase this Wiegand module from Taphome, and that basically interfaces these Wiegand readers with the Taphome system. So because I already use these, and I already use these as a Wiegand compatible reader, it was really easy for me to just get my head around the basics and then just hook it up once I've received this module. It's actually fairly easy. So the idea was, what I wanted to achieve is that I would be able to use key codes or one of these RFID tags, and for example, if I read that, I would be able to, let's say, open doors or open the garage door or a gate or something, which you would normally do in an access control scenario like that. And I think the functionality within Taphome is perfectly suited for these scenarios. So I was able to do everything I wanted, so I'm quite happy with that. And I think maybe before we look into the details, I just want to go through the hardware. So I brought up the page for this Wiegand gateway that Taphome sells, and this is this black unit that you can see here. And I mean, you can read the whole specifications here, but probably it's better if I bring up this screen, because that pretty much explains everything. So up here on the top left, you have the power, so that's the usual 24 volts, and you have the bus wires, so A and B, which is used to connect all the Taphome devices together. And then next to it, we have a section for the Wiegand reader. And as you can see, it supports two readers. So one unit can use two different readers. So you have the D0 and the D1 connection for reader 1, or Wiegand 1 and Wiegand 2. And there is a separate 12-volt power supply built in. So that's probably just steps down to 24 volts. So you don't need a separate power supply for the reader itself, because that's going to provide the 24 volts required. And what I quite like about these units, these gateways, is not only that they support the Wiegand interface, but they also have two digital outputs and two digital inputs as well. So again, if you have two readers, let's say a gate and a door, then you can use it with one single Wiegand gateway, because it can handle two readers. And also you can use the outputs to actuate the the door motors or the solenoid, the magnetic solenoid, and you can also use the inputs. You can connect, for example, limit switches, so you can check whether the garage door has actually closed, or the gate has actually closed, or whether the door is left open. So everything is contained in a single unit. And there is some other documentation as well, how you set up the switches, how you use them, ground and 12 volts. You also have a connection diagram for a typical Wiegand reader, which incorporates the the door opening mechanism as well. But I mean, in my case, I'm just using the black-red for power and the green and the white, which is the Wiegand D0 and D1 wires. And I'm not using any of the built-in relays within the Wiegand unit because I mean, if I want to operate my garage door, I can just use the digital outputs here and drive it straight from this gateway. I don't think I really need to go through the Wiegand unit. And also you can see some example here for the input switches or the digital inputs. And then that's again something digital input. Oh, so that's all about the documentation for the unit. And if we look at how I actually created the setup, I use these two wires, so the black and the red, for power. So that connects to the red terminals, which is usually the power, and then you have the blue terminals for the data, so the bus A and B bus. So again, I just daisy chained this, so it comes off from the 12 digital input output unit, and then it goes into this 2 UI unit, and then it's further daisy chained into here. So it's very simple. You just have to remember which one is A and B, and make sure that for all the units they are connected to the same port. And then the yellow terminals are power, so that goes, so that's the 12 volt which powers the reader. And then I connected the white and the green, which is the Wiegand wires, to the W2 terminals. So this is W1 and this is W2. And I have the inputs and the outputs here, which I haven't used right here. So I mean, I have a lot of spare outputs here, so I think I'm just going to use this, but ideally you would use these if you want to operate a door, motor, or or some solenoid or something like that. Let's head over to the Taphome application, and I think I'm just going to go straight into settings. So once you wire everything up, obviously you come here and you come to hardware, and then on the Taphome you click here to find new devices. And then once you have done that, and once you have wired everything correctly, you should be able to see the new Wiegand device. So it is this W2DI2D02. So two Wiegand interface with 2 digital inputs and 2 digital outputs. So here, as I said, I've connected or wired up this reader to the W2 output. So here you can select all the different readers, and then obviously nothing is connected to the W1 input. So this is disabled, and there is a reader connected to the the second input, and you can give it a different name, and then you can put it into a zone and a category. But yeah, this is all you do, and I think it supports Wiegand 24 and 36. So I think this is set to Wiegand 24 or 26. So one of them. And you can also configure the digital inputs. So just like with any digital inputs or any other devices, you can just configure whether these are digital inputs or pulse width modulation, give it a name and a zone and a category. So ideally, let's say if this is a solenoid to turn on the the door magnet or the motor, then you would set it to digital output, and then you set a category and the name, and you would be able to configure it for one of the smart automation rules that we are going to look at. But I mean, this is all you would configure here. So you configure these devices, and then when you come to the devices, you should be able to see the reader at somewhere here. I think it appears, or maybe it doesn't appear on the devices because you can't really do anything with them. It's just a reader which is there. Yeah, I think. So let's head over to settings now, because we have seen this access control option here, but we haven't really used this because there was no device to use the access control with. So if you go in, then you can see that this is where you can create cards. You can use the card readers, you can have plans, and then basically you have a log, access log. So first, I think I'm going to deal with this because yeah, I'm not really going to spend a lot of time creating plans, but you would use this option to configure time access or time limited access. So you can see, you know, I create a new plan, so that's going to be my first plan, and you can set it to be only, you know, limited by time, so basically between 2 dates, or you just set it to unlimited, and then you know, you configure what intervals you allow access. So that's basically going to work with in combination with your card reader. So you read a card, and that card is going to be assigned to a plan, and then if you are within these time intervals and within these days, then access is going to be granted, otherwise access is going to be rejected. And you can also, you know, specify date periods. So again, you know, from and to dates, or you can, you know, inclusive date period or exclusive date periods. So I guess, you know, you get the idea, but I think I'm just going to use the 24/7 for now for testing. In the card readers, you see all your card readers. It doesn't really do much at the moment, because I think what we need to do really first is you create your cards. And as you can see, you can use cards, you can use PIN codes only, or cards with a PIN code. And yeah, you have all these combinations with a weekly plan assigned, or unlimited access, or something which is assigned to a user or not assigned to the user. But let's not go that far. So I think what we can do first is we can identify the new card. So I'm just going to use this red token. So I say I want to create a new card, and I mean, if I know the card code for this one, actually it's written here, but I think it's much easier to scan it. So I'm just going to do scan a card, and it knows that I only have one device, and now it's scanned. So I can set that, you know, this card is enabled, and the name is going to be, let's say, red token, and it is not assigned to a user. It doesn't have a PIN code, and it's set to unlimited. So this is where I can set a, you know, whether it's unlimited or access, or sorry, unlimited, expired, or a custom, which comes with a date code. And I can also say that I want to allow access everywhere, which means that I can limit this token, so it can only be used on this particular reader. So let's say if I have 2 readers, and you only want this token to work on one of the readers, you can limit the control, limit the access, so it works only on a particular device. Let me see. Okay, and that's it. And actually, before I save it, I want to also assign it to a user. So I think I'm just going to assign it to myself, and done. And assigning it to a user has one single purpose, is that when you do the access reporting will only work on the user level. So if you have tokens that you are not going to access, or sorry, assign to the user, you won't see any history of those tokens being used. I mean, you can still, you know, create smart rules for those, but again, it's just not going to show up in the reports. So maybe we can create another access card, so we can use a PIN code only. So I don't know, 5566. And we can also assign this to a user, so it shows up in the reporting. And first pin, master pin. Okay, that's going to be the name of it. And yeah, we can again set it to unlimited. So that's going to be our 2 access cards. And now if I scan this card now, well, nothing is going to happen because I haven't created any rules. But now if we come to the access log, we can see that the access was granted on, I think I played around with the input and the output. This is why it says digital output. Yeah, it says that it was the red token and it was my user ID. And I think if I do the same with the yellow card, then yeah, access denied unknown card. Digital output, why is it showing digital output? I don't understand this one. Maybe I accidentally renamed. Oh yeah, okay. I renamed this one. So, okay, I'm just going to rename this RFID reader. Okay, it makes more sense now why it was showing that. And I guess if I start the report again, yeah, that it shows. So again, you can give it different names so you know where the access card was scanned if you have multiple readers. Okay, so that is working. And by the way, let me show you, if I do this identify card, if I do this yellow one, oh sorry, not identify card, but create a new card. So if I do this yellow one and yellow card, so it's active, it has access anywhere, but if I scan this one now, then oh, it shows that the, okay, well, it still shows that the RFID reader is well, sorry, the yellow card was read on the RFID reader, but I guess it just makes more sense that you also assign user to them, so you don't have to remember which card. I mean, maybe you can rename name the card as the user as well, if you don't want to create the user, but yeah. So, I mean, I guess you can use either way. I think in the, I'm pretty sure that in the past this wasn't working, so if I didn't assign it to user, it would just not show up in the logs. But here you go. They might have updated something in the firmware. Okay, so now it shows RFID reader. So that's the basics. This is how you create access either using the PIN code or the a token in this case, and then you can use this. By the way, 55666. I don't know. Yeah. So it recognized that was the master PIN. So I just entered the master PIN. Okay, so that's good. And now what we can do is we can go to the card readers here, or we can go either on the devices, because I think we have we have a card reader here, and it brings up the usual screen where you can create new smart rules. I created a smart rule before, so I just deleted it so we can create a new smart rule. But I think what we can do before is we are going to create a new output. And I think what I'm going to use, as I said, it would make sense to use the digital output here, but I don't have anything connected. So I think I'm going to use one of the LEDs here. So I go back to settings, and this is connected to the 12 digital output. So if I go to hardware and Taphome bus and there is multiple ways how you can get to this screen, but let me just use this one. And I think I'm just going to use the digital out 10. And that would be the gate motor. Okay, and let's say, yeah, whatever. I mean, I can just, I can assign zone and category as well, but it's not really required. So that's going to be the gate motors. So I created that. And if you go to the devices, then I'm pretty sure that I can switch it here. Okay, so that's going to be this LED, and luckily it is in frame. So what we can do is we can assume that that's the gate motor. So we are going to, pause that whenever we read the red token. So let me find the Wiegand module again. Okay, so the reader is here, and I'm going to create a smart rule. There are a few smart rules, but really the only one which is useful is the access control, or I guess that's the one which is going to be used the most. So, so this rule is going to apply to this particular RFID reader. Again, if you have multiple and you want the same action to be triggered from multiple readers, you can add new devices. So you can specify what should happen if there is an access with any card. So any recognized token is used or PIN. but I want a specific card. So I want a red token, and maybe also the master pin. So I can open the gate either with the red token or also with the master pin. So I selected these two, and that's the access, and then perform the following action. So we are just going to use the gate motor, and then we are going to do a short on-off impulse. The duration, oh, there is no delay, and then the duration is going to be 5 seconds, 5 seconds, and then 1 cycle. Oh, sorry, what did I say? 5 seconds. Okay, maybe just yeah, I think 1 second is also okay. 1 second, and well, actually this is 0 because okay, so we have to specify a number of seconds. So maybe this can be 1 as well. So that's going to be like a short pulse on the output, and action, and rename the access control. So that would be open, close gate, and then we save it. Okay, so we have a new smart rule created. So if I do this, then you can see that we pulse the output that is going to be connected to the gate motor. So it will either open or close the gate. And that should work with the code as well. And yeah, it works. So this is how easy it is to configure an action. And if we go back to the action, I've seen a couple of things here. So what happens if we try to do with an expire card or with a loss card? Yeah, we can create a new action. So maybe we can yeah, I'm not sure what you would need. I mean, what would you then trigger? Maybe you can trigger an alarm, which is going to be an output, but yeah, you can definitely do that. Or we can also create a notification. So the notification title is invalid access, and the message inactive card used on RFID reader. And yeah, I think we can add these. Maybe I can add myself specifically. So that's a a specific. That's the specific message for me. And I think what I can also do is I'm wondering if I am able to create the notification here. Okay, I can create a notification here as well. Okay, so I enabled a notification here, and I also added a notification there. So I think what is going to happen now, and I hope I get the notification here in this window as well. If I do this, yeah, so you can see that I got a notification that the gate is triggered from the RFID reader. So this is good. And actually, let me check my phone as well. Yeah, so if you can see, I got the notification on my phone as well. Oh, so this is working great because I have the same kind of setup in my home as well. Because it was my homebrew solution, so I just wanted to get a notification in case somebody else is trying to mess around with my readers. And nobody did that so far, but at least if somebody would do, I would get a notification. So let me just go back to settings and then access control and go to the active cards and the red token and validity assigned, enable access. Did I say expired or did I say lost? Oh, that's inactive. Oh, sorry, I have to go back because I forgot what I've configured. So if I go back to my devices, and actually I can also do my smart rules, and I can, yeah, gate open, close. So I have configured for expired. Okay, so let's go back to settings, and the cards, I have an inactive card, so I set it back to active, and then and I just set it to expired. Okay, so this card is expired now. Good. And if I try to use this one, well, first of all, we shouldn't see the LED blinking. We did not. And then, yeah, invalid access, inactive card used on the RFID reader. So great, it is working just as I expected. Actually, I like these notifications. I think, especially if you're setting up something new, then you want to enable these notifications, and maybe if everything is working fine after a couple of months and you just get bored of all these notifications, then you can just easily turn them off. And as you can see, you just go here and then you click, and then that basically turns off the notification. So it's really easy to get rid of these. And by the way, the master pin is still working. So that is still working, and I get the positive notification on my app. So yeah, everything works as I expected. And if I go back to settings and access control and log, yeah, access denied with expired card, access granted, access granted. So I think this works great. And of course you can apply a filter. This is a very simple report, but I think you can use this export functionality as well. The one thing that I haven't really talked about is here in the users, so you can create additional users, as many as you want. So that's how you can link the users together with the access control. I mean, you would create users for different users who would use the application to control your home, but you can also create users just for access control. So maybe you can create a user as a gardener or a cleaner, and then you can just issue them these RFID tokens and then set them up, assign it to them, so they would appear in the access control report, but you don't give them, for example, passwords, so they won't be able to log into your app to do anything in your home. So this is the idea how we'd use the users and all these different access cards within the application. As you can see, and for every single user you have, you can create tokens as well, and you can also create pins, which I also use quite a lot. So even if I leave my keys at home, which the token is usually on my keyring, then I can still come in using the pin code. So and it's really easy to administer the pin code from here. I guess you just have to remember to come to the access log from time to time to look at all the messages, or maybe you can just set up notifications for all the sort of illegal scenarios like lost cards or invalid cards. So if somebody just trying to come in by punching some numbers, at least you would get notifications that somebody was trying to use an unknown pin and playing around with your setup. But to be honest, this is all I managed to explore in terms of how the access control works and how the access control works with physical readers, keypads, and RFID readers in the Taphome system. But honestly, I think that all the scenarios that I thought about and how I would use it in a home setup is it's actually supported here, and it is really easy to set up. So as I said, as of now, I think that's going to be my last video in my Taphome setup. Maybe once I install it in a particular home, I can go through all the the specific details. But with these 4 videos, I think you probably have a really good idea how this system works. And if you have automation needs for yourself, maybe you can evaluate whether this system is going to be suitable for you, whether the functionality is something that you want, and the ease of configuration and the ease of changing settings is something that you actually need, because I think this is, well, definitely unique to the systems that I have experienced with so far, and that is the main reason I quite like it. So I think that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.